Welcome to my latest podcast series, OneLife. My name's Terence Wallace, and I'm the writer and publisher of a weekly essay entitled Indelible Adventures, and I'm your host. This podcast series sets out to prompt and challenge your thinking about life and what it means to really live your life. I'll share with you my insights and personal experiences with the sole objective of getting you to reflect and think about your approach to living your best life. So let's get started. This week's special guest is Jess Lemon. I was fortunate enough to have Jess as my very first yoga teacher back in 2016. Jess had me hooked on the significant benefits of yoga, but it was more than that. It was her thoughtful and caring approach to her students, her practice, and life in general that drew me in. Jess is a popular and sought-after instructor in both Toronto and Montreal. In addition, Jess has hosted yoga retreats across the United States, Canada, and Latin America. Although, as always, I'm sure Jess can give a better introduction than I ever could. So welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me on this podcast, Terence. Hi, I'm Jess Lemon, and I am a yoga and Pilates teacher, a movement teacher, mindful movement teacher, and I've been doing this for my whole adult life since I was 18. I've done lots of different studying, different methodologies of yoga, anything from yin and restorative yoga to vinyasa, and now more functional movement, strength training, all that stuff I'm really interested in. And I've really interested mostly these days in bridging a sense of being spiritually engaged and awake and aware, and being clear in movement and body.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. Okay, so our first question today is, what's the most important thing you've learned about living your best life?
The best thing I've learned about living my best life, to ask myself, are you sure? And to keep looking again, to keep the eyes of a beginner and beginner's mind, and to approach things with humility and the willingness to refine and edit. And this is what makes life exciting to me and also meaningful, is the ability to make meaning of my life and to be open to the wisdom of teachers that are all around me. So formal teachers, informal teachers, to be open to really growing and learning all the time.
Thanks, Jess. I think you brought up some really great topic areas to talk about. Your first point around checking in with yourself and this self-reflection, I think is really underrated and very, very important. I also really liked your concept of keeping the eyes of a beginner and the beginner's mind. And that first set of eyes and mindset, I think, is really underrated as well. I also think that living a life with humility and a willingness to refine and edit your life through the wisdom of teachers and others around you, and being open to growing and learning all the time, I think really powerful sorts of statements about the way you live your life, and I think the benefits for others as well. My next question is, what's the one piece of advice you learned that you'd wished you'd known earlier in your life?
One piece of advice I wish I'd gotten when I was younger. Probably did get it, but you don't hear it until probably till later, which is, to take time and to be in the moment and really enjoy the stage that I'm in. I often am thinking ahead about what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, and sometimes that gets in the way of just relaxing into where you are and feeling the fullness and feeling that even when it's hard, it's full. Everything you need is in this moment. So I wish I'd heard that. It's just everything has its own time. Don't rush. Be present. Be here now. This is the best season of your life. Whatever season you're in is always the best season, because this is it. This is where you are.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jess. I couldn't agree more. I think taking the time to be in the moment is so important, and I think personally for me this has been my biggest challenge. You mentioned that sometimes it gets in the way of relaxing into where you are, unfortunately for me, my whole life has been looking forward as opposed to being present right now. So great piece of advice. I also wanted to highlight something else you said about everything has its own time and not to rush, just be present and be here now. Thanks, Jess. I think all of our listeners are going to get a great deal from your advice today. Thank you. Our final question today is, what action would you ask our listeners to take after listening to this podcast today?
If I was to recommend one action to your listeners, it would be to take a moment to pause in your day for gratitude, just to reflect on what is working in your life, what gives you joy, and because the more you reflect on it, the more you will have more of the same. I have a teacher I listen to. His name's Rick Hansen. He's got a great podcast called Being Well, and he says our minds are Teflon for positive, and we're Velcro for negative. So evolutionarily, we are predisposed to remembering things that haven't been good versus ruminating or reflecting on what is good. And the more we ruminate or reflect on what is good, the more we see what's good in our lives. It creates this kind of neural pathway or groove, and then, literally we are, what we see is reflected, our attitude is what's creating what we see. So, pause, remember the good, take it in, find some gratitude and joy, and have fun. Life is short, so have fun.
Thanks, Jess. Some really great takeaways there. I really liked taking a moment to pause for gratitude and reflect on what's working in your life and what gives you joy. I believe reflection time is pivotal in your life, and it provides us with an opportunity to reinforce all the goodness that we have and what we share with others. I would also agree with you and Rick on being well, in terms of we're often predisposed with remembering all the things that haven't been good or haven't gone well in our lives versus all the good things that have happened to us and where we are. I also really like that positive mindset begets a positive mindset. The more you think positively about where you are in your life, the more it reinforces how positive your life actually is. I think your simple steps are really valuable for our listeners as well, in terms of pausing, remembering the good, finding gratitude and joy, and having fun. I think that's what life is all about, and often we get caught up in the day-to-day and we don't see the fun and joy in our lives, and so really, really super important. So thanks very much, Jess.
Thank you for having me on your podcast today. Congratulations on it, and I look forward to listening.
If you'd like to learn more about Indelible Adventures and the products and services we provide, please take a moment to visit our website at www.indelibleadventures.com. Indelible Adventures is one word. Well, thanks for listening, and look forward to hosting you again soon. All the best.